Hi, everyone. It's Sunday night. It's my favorite time of the week. It's time for our Region Weather Live. And when I say there's a lot to talk about, I mean it. There is a ton to talk about tonight. Very, very energetic, unseasonably cold systems going to be moving in here. Remember, we talked about this last week, hitting about this time and how cold we were thinking we were going to get. And boy, it's going to feel like winter outside tomorrow. There's no way around it. We are going to have some lake effect rain. It changes over to some wet snow. So we'll detail where, when, and how much we're expecting. And then we've got some good news at the end of the tunnel, some light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, as we get into next weekend. We always like to leave you with positive news. You know that. So we'll talk about that and more on this Sunday evening edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome in, everybody. It's Region Weather Meteorologist Matt Wintz. It's Sunday evening, time to chat weather. Appreciate you guys joining us here to geek out a little bit and talk about what we can expect for the week ahead. Want to say hi to Jeff, Amy, hello, Lance, Gregory, Mary, Vicky. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. We're all settled in here. Everything's good to go. We've got our internet up and running. That's good. It's pretty fast. I'm pretty happy with it as well. Abigail, good evening to you. Deshaun, thanks for joining us, buddy. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I really do. We got our last kind of Fall Fest weekend activities in before we turn cold the next couple days. I hope you're able to do the same, but we are not done with the warm air yet. All right. That's the good news. So, if you're hoping to get a couple more fall days in here, trust me, we've got more coming our way. Just kind of a raw start as we get into the week. Hi, Shar. Hi, Sarah. Good evening to you, Mark. Wow, Mark's been working a lot of hours, he says. Carl, hello from Hebron. And Lindsay, hello as well. All right, guys, kind of excited about this. We have a brand new sponsor as of last week, Discovery Travel. I already got several messages saying, what a fantastic sponsor, because a lot of you have used them. Tim over at Discovery Travel team handles everything. And here's the deal with what they do, all right? If you're planning on going on vacation, you can plan it yourself. You can get hotel, all that stuff. You can organize it all, hope that your trips aren't delayed, and all that stuff to me is just a headache, especially with a big family. What Discovery Travel does is they organize everything for you as much as you want. If you want to handle certain things, you certainly can, but they'll handle airline, they'll handle all the travel, all the accommodations. They can do all inclusive things at anywhere in the world, essentially, right? Which is so cool. So if you want to head to Greece over the winter or something like that, they can plan everything for you. And they've had some good experiences from some of our region weather folks. So again, it's discoverytravel.com, but travel spelled TRVL. So keep that in mind as you're going on there. We also have them on our Facebook page as well, but we welcome them to Region Weather. Certainly a wonderful sponsor to have because we talk travel weather all the time. Also want to thank Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. It is Jeep season, any season, but especially as we head into winter weather. We've got that coming our way. We'll talk about it, but now is the time to head on over and check out some of their latest deals at Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. And also Tiger Plumbing, the best plumbers in Northwest Indiana, hands down. They don't charge trip fees. They come out for free. They're locally owned and operated, and they're just wonderful folks. A lot of you have had great experiences with them as well. TigerPlumbing.net is the place to go. All right, let's jump into the forecast, shall we? In terms of the overall pattern, this is where I want to start, big picture thinking. Notice just this big lobe of purple and stuff coming at us from Canada and the eastern half of the country. This is a giant trough, all right? You've got the air that goes way up with the jet stream, way out towards the west. It heads over areas of Vancouver, and then it comes straight down in the eastern half of the country, a very undulating pattern across the U.S. When you have this, you often have extremes. We have a lot of warmth out west. What goes up must come down, so we get this. It's literally the polar vortex that's coming south out of Canada. It's not mid-January, so we're not talking below average or below zero temperatures, but we're getting into the time of year where we can start to get some cold air, and we're certainly seeing that moving in from the north tonight. It's going to be with us the next 4 days. We're going to be stuck in the 40s, and we may not even get out of the 30s tomorrow across the entire region as this cold air continues to work its way in. But you can see that pattern there, everything coming at us from the northwest. So What happens from here? Well, what we've got going on right now, we're starting to kick off some lake effect rain. As we bring in that colder air over our relatively warm lakes this time of year, it kicks off precipitation, whether that be rain or snow. It depends on the temperatures at the surface and aloft. Right now, we're too warm for snow, so that's good, but it's cold enough aloft to produce lake effect rain. So we're starting to see some banding develop up towards Grand Rapids that extends through Kalamazoo. There's a little bit of rain heading into Berrien County. What we're going to get into is this northwest flow over the next about 12 hours or so. So that should keep most of the rain in Michigan. Can't rule out some showers tonight and then especially tomorrow as we get into the early and midday hours in Porter and LaPorte counties. It looks to be all rain at that point. But the problem is we're going to have a wind shift that brings everything in out of the north as we get into the afternoon tomorrow. And what that will do, it'll not only bring colder air even still tomorrow afternoon aloft or up in the atmosphere, but it's also going to shift these bands around. And all indication is over the last like 4 or 5 model runs that we get this decent burst of some heavy rain and perhaps some heavy wet snow with that as this transition takes place. And then as we get into the afternoon and evening tomorrow, we're dealing with quite a bit of lake effect rain and snow across the region. But as of right now, things just getting going should be mainly, again, Porter and LaPorte County overnight and tomorrow morning with mainly rain. So let me show you some of the modeling with this. This is the model I like the best. This has had a good handle on it. This is the HRRR. And notice as we go through time, this has a good handle on what's going on now. It's just rain in Michigan. All the snow right now has been up towards Minnesota. Duluth's been seeing some snow. That snow will begin to gradually head south as we bring that colder air in. So this is now midnight tonight. As we get into the early morning rush hour, this is what rush hour looks like. Just some showers, perhaps Porter, LaPorte County. Otherwise, just a blustery northwest wind tomorrow morning. But again, most of us should be dry for that morning commute tomorrow. But look what's going on off towards our north. There's a lot of rain and wet snow in there as this low pressure continues to sink down to the south. Here's our wind shift tomorrow. There's a little trough right there. Notice this little wiggle where these lines, these are isobars or lines of equal pressure. Notice this little wiggle where they change direction in this kind of frontal boundary shaped line here, right? That's going to be the trough that comes across the lake. We're now in early afternoon, and we'll likely start to see a band form that comes south across northwest Indiana. That band will likely have heavy rain, may have some graupel with it as well. That's those little Dippin' Dots. But we could also see some areas that are cold enough that have a little bit of snowflake action mixed in. And with the amount of precip that'll probably be falling with this, we could have some reduced visibility. And perhaps, I don't want to say it yet, but I'm just going to say it. We could have some heavy snow in spots. Is everyone going to see that? Is it going to be clear cut snow? No, it's going to be mixed. So you'll probably have rain 1 minute, some big snowflakes mixing in the next minute. But still, this is happening, and this is happening tomorrow. Okay, so what a rude start to the week, right? But it's exciting because it's going to be a little bit different outside than the doldrums weather forecast, right? I know I'm going to get some slack if I'm saying that's exciting. So look what the HRRR does as we get some of that colder air in here that continues to pour in tomorrow evening. We change perhaps quite a bit of this lake effect rain over to lake effect snow. And now where exactly that happens, it's going to favor inland areas. Remember, this time of year, our lake areas close to the lakeshore will likely stay rain because that lake is providing warmer air within a couple miles of Lake Michigan, especially with a strong north wind. So if you're along the immediate lakeshore, maybe within 2-3 miles of it, I'm not expecting much in terms of accumulation. Once you get inland, though, let's say the Borman down towards the south, US 30 further south as well, that's where we stand the best chance for some snow to mix in or even a changeover. When is that going to happen? Late tomorrow. So Monday evening on into Monday night and Tuesday morning looks to be that period of time where we could get some snow. And I'm not seeing this on the models are showing it. We've been talking about it. I'm not seeing this in the forecasts, though, in terms of, I looked at both the weather services and they're kind of broad brushing the fact that we could get some snowflakes mixing in, but everyone's saying ground's too warm and they're saying that we're not going to see much accumulation at all. And I'm seeing that on some social media forecasts as well. I beg to differ with that. I think we're going to see some slushy accumulation in spots, not everyone again, but we stand a risk for some accumulating snow out of this. because I think the snowfall rates will overcome the warmer ground temperatures. Yes, the ground is warm, but if we get some heavier snow on top of that, we could certainly see some slush buildup, especially tomorrow night with loss of that daytime heating. Look at the HRRR. This is now Monday, tomorrow around 8 or 9 o'clock. Wind is due north. We've got this intense lake effect band coming right off the lake through all of northwest Indiana. Changes to some wet snow, kind of mixing in gloppily off towards the north. But bottom line, it is a wintry scene tomorrow evening with rain mixing in as well. So not a complete whiteout, but just totally different compared to where we've been. That lake effect band looks to shift out towards the east as we go into the early morning hours Tuesday, and then it comes back at us again with mainly rain at this point into Tuesday afternoon. The other thing to keep in mind this time of year is that we tend to get any snow changeovers, much like we do late in the spring. Early in the fall, we tend to get that snow changeover mainly at night. That daytime heating does wonders, all right? So even if we're seeing some snow during the daytime hours, that solar radiation, even though it's coming through clouds, you still get that heating of surfaces. It's really hard to accumulate a snow during the daytime this time of year. Usually it happens at night. So that Monday night through Tuesday morning time frame, I would not be surprised if we had some accumulating snow in northwest Indiana. That would favor inland areas away from the lake, but Porter, LaPorte County stand an equal chance. Even inland Lake County could see some snow. And then down towards the south, this band will be intense enough that we could accumulate a little bit of snow in Newton, Jasper, and Stark counties as well. So just don't be surprised with that. I'm not seeing a lot of that in the forecasting, but I'm going to call for it now that we could certainly be seeing that again Monday night into Tuesday. By Tuesday, though, the air starts to warm with this whole system. So we're likely to be seeing more on the rainy side of things on Tuesday during the day. We could still see some pockets of snow mixing in, but that real bullseye for that cold air coming in and that lake effect band to be around here would be Monday into Tuesday morning, okay? Eventually the system peels on out, but it's just nasty and raw on Tuesday as well before it finally does. All right, so go ahead and fill up some questions over there. I'm sure you've got some. Well, there always is with the snow this time of year, but I'd be happy to answer anything and explain kind of the thinking behind the forecast. The last thing I want to leave you with is some good news. We've got a really nice warm up in store this time next week. And you'll notice this is the upper air pattern. So this shows kind of where the troughs are, where the cold air is. Notice this is that lobe of the polar vortex, if you want to call it that. It really is. That breaks off, comes in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, still spiraling around. I'll get that out. But notice out towards the west, that's where all the warmth is. Eventually, we're going to flip this pattern, and this happens later this week into the weekend. As we get more troughiness out towards the west, we'll build a ridge out towards the east. So by Friday, we're starting to bring some warmer air in here. We'll have a nice southwest wind, and that continues all by all indication into next weekend. There should be a nice high pressure off the East Coast that will funnel in warm Gulf of Mexico air, and we'll trade it for the West. The West will get cold. They'll have mountain snow and build some kind of storm system out there, and we'll stay on the warmer side of things next weekend. And it does look like we stay kind of on the warmer side of things all the way through the latter half of October, leading up to Halloween. It's a little bit too early to see that forecast, but it does look like we're going to stay warmer over the 5 to 10 day period beyond this week. So that would be day probably 10 to 15 as it looks right now. And then we turn active again. Some more storm systems certainly in the forecast. All right, so that's what we're dealing with. So some snow, some rain in the forecast, and we've got some warm air. So if you haven't found what you want in the forecast in this little block of time that we've spent together, I don't know what you're looking for because we've got a little bit of everything. All right, so let's answer your questions for you, and we'll get you on your way here on this Sunday night. We'll let this model run kind of go here. I want to show you one final thing, and that's how much snow is expected to accumulate. This is unbelievable, but this is what the HRRR has been spitting out over the last couple of model runs. Notice this chunk of wet snow. I mean, some of these numbers are coming in almost a foot of snow, says the HRRR, in areas of southern LaPorte County, Newton, Jasper County, over into Stark County. That's what the model's saying. Are we going to see a foot of snow? No, we're not. The ground is too warm for that. But could we get several inches out of this wherever this band ends up by Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night? We certainly could. I'll show you another model here. This is the NamNest. I have not looked at this one. This is the latest run. And look at how much different this looks. This has a trace to a slushy coating across portions of northwest Indiana. it has that bullseye out towards the South Bend area, just south and east of there, with a couple inches of snow. Either way, and look at Marquette, Michigan, maybe 20 to 40 inches. I don't know if I agree with that. There is going to be plenty of snow to be had up there, though, as they're going to stay colder and have pretty consistent banding. But just interesting to see for sure. The models, again, don't have a good handle this time of year on lake effect events. They tend to get a little bit more accurate when we have all cold air, because right now we're messing with rain type or precip type, which could be rain or snow, and the models don't handle that well, right? It's very tricky to determine that with all the layers of the atmosphere. But bottom line, there is a chance for some accumulating snow by this time tomorrow night, and then especially on into Tuesday morning, okay? All right, so that's what we're dealing with. So let's talk about your questions here, whatever we've got. Let's see, I'll go back. I've got some good evenings. Hello, Diane from LaPorte. Appreciate that. Andrew says, is that a second Emmy behind you? It is, Andrew. Yeah, we got that last year for some severe weather coverage here locally. Exciting stuff. Dave, hello. Thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel. Hi, Missy. Emma, hello. Hi, Chris. And if I sound a little tired tonight, I am. I did the morning show this morning. I was filling in for our weekend morning meteorologist. So I've had Saturday and Sunday morning. I was up 2 a.m. yesterday, 3 a.m. this morning. Got a little nap, but I got to tell you, being an evening meteorologist, those mornings are rough. They're just so early. Had a good time, though, filling in for sure. But I appreciate you guys putting up with me. Ruth says, snow. Yes, if it's going to be cold, it might as well snow. Ruth, I have the same philosophy. If it's going to be the worst temperature, in my opinion, is in the 40s, because it's not warm. It's not cold. Well, it's not real cold. It's not real warm. It's just kind of And if we're going to be in the 40s and even upper 30s, we might as well have something exciting falling from the sky, right? Angie's not ready for winter. Vicky Lee, thank you very much. I have a Facebook user. It says Facebook user, Lake Snow Where. So this is going to be for all of the snow belt, all of Northwest Indiana. So we're talking Lake, Porter, LaPorte counties. Even our inland counties stand a chance at seeing some of this lake effect snow. It's not going to be clear cut. It's not going to be all snow at all times. We're going to have rain mixing in, especially early tomorrow. That snow chance really ramps up as we go throughout the day tomorrow, as we bring that colder air in. And we'll be watching for some bigger band as that little trough swings across the lake that would bring in perhaps some heavier rain and some heavier wet snow as we get into the afternoon and evening hours. And that continues on into Monday night and Tuesday morning. So John says more than likely it will melt as soon as it hits the ground. The ground is super warm, but John, if we get temperatures down into the 30s tonight and we stay in the 30s, yeah, the ground's not frozen, so it will melt a lot of that. But the complicating factor is if we get heavy enough snow, that snow goes down on our warm ground and it doesn't melt quick enough, and that creates a layer of freezing. And it doesn't take much to do that. And as soon as you have that, that snow can start to pile up. Not that we're going to see it pile up, but we certainly could see that accumulating snow that we're forecasting as we get that first layer of snow. So it's all about how heavy does it fall and where it does is that's where we could start to get a coating. But either way, just much more wintry around here tomorrow as we bounce out of it. Debbie's excited about the warmer temperatures. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome, Shar, for sure. Yeah, we'll get through it together. This isn't going to be a catastrophic event or anything like that. It's just the first one is always kind of a shock to the system. Someone did ask, they sent me a Facebook message. I'll answer that in terms of, is this normal to see snow this early? Normally it's Halloween that we tend to talk about that. We've had a wide range of first snows around here, stretching from as early as late September to as late December has been our first snow. So, it really depends. Our average first snow is typically later this month, right around Halloween. Our average first accumulating snow is normally early November, somewhere around November 8th to November 12th. Snow belt's a little bit different. Porter and LaPorte counties, it's a little bit earlier than that. But we've had snow this early before. We've had snow on October 16th before. We've had an October 19th snow. So it certainly is possible. So this isn't out of the realm of expectation, but just dealing with the fact that I feel like it was like summer, like just a couple weeks ago, we've had a cool October, but it bounces into this so fast for sure. Diane says weather's crazy. Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. To my point. Danielle says, what will it be like on Wednesday? That's a good question, Danielle. So Tuesday, we've got this leftover activity. Wednesday, the low starts to pull out. I actually didn't show the precip on this for you, but we have improving conditions on Wednesday as this low pressure pulls out. Will eventually start to warm the atmosphere up as well. So I'll show you the big picture here as we go through time. Here's your Monday, there's your Tuesday. This low pressure really digs in. It's going to be cold for them down south with this as well. Here's your Wednesday. You notice how we still have lake effect rain, perhaps in LaPorte County, but even that will be shifting out as the day progresses. So improving conditions on Wednesday. Thursday's dry, Friday's dry, Saturday's dry. And in terms of the next system, that moves into the west. Remember, that big trough forms out towards the west. So this is now Saturday into Sunday. Notice how the western U.S. now has heavy mountain snow and some rain heading into Oregon, Pacific Northwest. That's the system we'll watch next week. Here's Sunday and Monday. Something comes out in the plain states. The models don't handle this well, but this is now next Monday, the 24th, brings some rain in here. The last model run brought some storm activity in here. So it just depends on how that unfolds. But certainly building the cold air out west. So we're due for some kind of bigger system later on this month, probably around Halloween. It typically turns, real windy, some kind of big system across the plain states around then. Dave, the rain could be pretty heavy. That's a good question. I haven't looked at totals, but given the persistent nature of some of this lake effect rain over the next 48 hours, really starting tomorrow, as we talked about, we could certainly get some heavier totals. I would not be surprised if we were over an inch. Let me see what the HRRR is saying here. So the HRRR pointing out, we could see rainfall amounts where that lake effect persists. It's all about where that banding sets up, but we could see over an inch of rain. But you notice how it falls. The HRRR has areas of western Lake County and western Newton counties with not much rain at all. But I do think we stand a chance of some pretty heavy rain mixed with that heavier snow at times. Irish isn't happy. Thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel, Irish. I know. Stephen brings up a good point. Any chance of isolated flash of lightning with this? Stephen, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. There's going to be a lot of instability out over the lake because of that warmer water. And that can create almost some thunderstorm-like clouds out over the lake and some pretty robust, intense bands of lake effect. And so, yes, I do think we could get some thunder and lightning. The best chance for that would be out over the lake. But, some of those bands come in, especially that main one tomorrow afternoon and evening. Whenever that wind shifts and that trough comes across, I think we could see a pretty intense band of rain and perhaps some wet snow as it moves in. And that could have some thunder and lightning with it. Josh, in terms of travel issues, I don't foresee any travel issues. Reduced visibility is going to be the big one. We'll have to keep an eye on where that changeover is. If we get a persistent spot on the map, let's say LaPorte and Stark County, that we have a band coming in and it's changing over to wet snow in that spot, I could see in the evening tomorrow, and then especially tomorrow overnight when we don't have that daytime heating from the sun, I could see us developing some slick spots. I really could. Temperatures aren't going to be in the 20s during this. So, it's going to favor warmer surface temperatures. It's going to favor wet roads only. But if we get some of these heavier snowfall rates, that could counteract some things, at least temporarily, and bring some slick travel. It's not going to be widespread, though. I think mainly wet travel across the majority of the region throughout this entire event. Danielle, you're welcome, for sure. Are we done with thunderstorms now, Diane? I don't think so. Especially as we go into the latter half of the month, we're going to start to bring stronger storm systems in here that will have warm air out ahead of it, cold air back and behind it. We always get a couple thunderstorm lines out of those. And so we're not done with thunderstorms yet. We're done with, the 2 or 3 days a week of thunderstorm chances like we have in the late summer and early summer. But I think we're not done with thunderstorms yet. Yeah, Derek, for sure. Back up 65 by Friday. It's going to be like nothing happened. And the good thing about next weekend is it looks like this is going to be kind of a prolonged warm event where we're going to string together at least 3 or 4 days of 60 and maybe 70-degree temperatures. So there's that. Kimberly says already had snow in northern Wisconsin last week. Yeah, northern Wisconsin got it. Minnesota's already seen quite a bit of snow. They got quite a bit up there as well. Yeah, 2 inches, you said, at your lake house, Kimberly. Yeah, it's just crazy how fast things change. It really is. But keeps you on your toes for sure. Mike, thank you very much. You have a great week too, buddy. Appreciate you. So Dave's going to Michigan this weekend. How will the weather be in St. Joe? So for the weekend, it looks good. If you're talking about next weekend, which I think you are, Dave, it looks good. It's going to be just like here. We're going to have a nice south wind. Should be warming up, probably 60s and 70s next weekend. So hopefully that will hold. Mark, all this snow, that's a good question. How quickly do you think it'll melt off if it does start to stick? Um, if the snowfall rate can go away, which I would imagine it is, I don't think we're going to get a concentrated band of heavy snow over the same area for a long time. But if the snow can end, everything should melt pretty quickly. The only problem I could see is if we develop that band again that has persistent precip coming in, and that precip happens to be wet snow over the same location, like the HRRR's been kind of picking up. So we should be okay in terms of that. Anything would melt off pretty quickly. Kimberly asking about Pigeon Forge, the end of the month. You're going on a trip, Kimberly. That's awesome. And drummer Brett is going to Green Bay all week as well. Pigeon Forge looks warmer. They're probably going to be dealing with some rain down there, but they're going to have the same warm up as well. But in terms of temperatures, it looks mild all across the eastern half of the country, Kimberly. So end of the month is where we get tricky, though, because we'll be watching some kind of storm system come in. It's a little too early to tell on that. I know a couple of you asking for some Halloween forecasts as well. So a little bit too early for the Halloween forecast. We should have that next week. We should have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen then. Okay. All right. I think that's it. I hope that helps answer your question. We'll be on it with you. We'll have some updates for you as we go throughout the day tomorrow, keeping an eye on this lake effect setup. But one thing is for sure, it's going to be colder out the door tomorrow morning. So make sure you bundle up and just, find all your stuff tonight that you may have hidden away from last season. Okay. But we'll get through it. We'll bounce out of this quickly. We'll be back to the warmth by next weekend. So there's that. All right. Diane, have a great night. Dave, you're welcome. Jason, I appreciate your kind words. That's super sweet. I hope it helps explain and get you ready for your week as well. Mary, have a great evening to you too. Guys, we'll be with you all week, so we're really not going anywhere, but get some sleep. I will too. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. And don't forget, you can always catch our forecasts on our radio partners, X-Rocks 103.9, Indiana 105.5, and Z107.1. Every single morning we call in and we do a little weather chat with them, and they air our forecasts from Region Weather all day long. So give them a listen if you have a chance, okay? All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight. It means the world to me that you take time out of your evening to spend some time geeking out with weather for me. So I certainly appreciate you. All right, bye-bye.